the end of history. And so the end of history is the argument that uh, the history, the struggle, because history is certainly the one prominent point in history, is that there is a struggle between the classes, and that what leads to history and its account. And it is being argued that history has ended, in a sense that the struggle between the classes is more or less over. And and from other perspective is that the liberal democracies are around the world, and the concept is very um, universal, that more or less every country um, de- wants to be democratic, if not liberal. And I think that that book, okay, that started with an essay in 1989 by Francis Fukuyama, and he turned this essay into a book in 1992 by the name "The End of History and Last Man." And he argued a lot of things in that book, and certainly the point that the one point that he has highlighted in the book is the is the presence of liberal democracies around the world. And he was talking about uh, that uh, so so the the break the break of Soviet Union was very fresh at that time, and he's suddenly running with that idea that look, in the end democracy won, and those Soviet Union had broken into 15 countries, and more or less they became democratic. But the but if you that argument doesn't hold much weight to it, um, because it's not true that the struggle between the class is certainly over, that it's not violent anymore. It has become very sophisticated, and I think even Francis Fukuyama understands that. That's why he wrote a book that came out 2 or 3 years ago from now, and he he talks about uh, uh, inequality in the societies, because inequality is not hasn't gone anywhere, it's still in the society. So he talks about that and other things. And so the end of history, uh, I think that the whole concept is more or less is I mean, there are a lot to that concept, and that certainly holds certain weight to it, that history has ended, that the struggle between the classes is not that violent, and that um, um, something that we can something that has been similar throughout the history. It's not that anymore. It's something else, but it's still there. It hasn't gone anywhere. And I think with that, for example, let's talk about how many countries around the world are democratic. And and I, every country has a constitution per se, and which is a first step, but it's not certainly the one that makes you democratic. But I think there are more. Um, there were certainly more liberal democracies in early 1990s than they are now, uh, compared to that. And so the oppression and the suppression is still there in the society, and then the democracy is still a thing that uh, uh, the populace around the world seek after. And so the end of history, we are certainly very wrong about the end of history, because we think this is the end, or we know what end is to the history. And the other point, because if you read the book, which I have, uh, you certainly think that book is very rich in its argument, and but it suddenly that concept that history has an end is not something that that I personally and feel compels to believe in. Something that I don't feel that is the case, because um, uh, that it's not that we are close to history, or we are close to the end of history, or close to we were close to the end of history, but it's like it's not even there yet. We are haven't seen the end of history, or we are not even closer to the end of history, because I truly believe history will end with humans, and which is because as long as human will live, uh, humans have a very distinctive history, and it could you can say that it's not certainly what it used to be, what history used to be. It's certainly not that I agree with that point, and I think that's something that I appreciate that is the case. I mean, for the argument, but I don't think that we are any closer to the end of history. And